Hey guys, it's Jeff here, and in this video I'm gonna show you my project automating website deployment in Azure with Terraform version 1. Over the next few videos we're gonna keep improving this project. So here's our hypothetical scenario. Koda is the boss of a large-scale enterprise and wants a website dedicated to his journey through life. As a solutions architect, our goal is to design and deploy this website using infrastructure as code. In this case, we're going to utilize Terraform. Coda's key requirement: the website must be easily reproducible and teardown friendly so it can be deployed or removed with a single command. And the infrastructure components, we're going to use Terraform to provision our resource group in Azure, and these are all in Azure, I should mention. A resource group is just a logical container that holds Azure resources. A virtual network, this provides network isolation and communication for resources. A subnet, in this case we're just going to have one subnet, but this was segments the VNet into smaller address spaces, so if we had multiple, this would be the case. A network security group, this controls inbound and outbound traffic. For us, we're going to use SSH and HTTP. A public IP address, this is how we're going to access the website externally. A network interface, this connects the virtual machine to the subnet and assigns its IP. And the virtual machine itself, which is going to host the Nginx Web Server and serve the website content. So here is just a picture of the architecture overview that we're going to create utilizing Terraform. You can see, starting from the left-hand side, we have the compute layer, the virtual machine, which is going to be connected to the network interface. And you can also see, if you follow the bottom arrow, it's deployed in the resource group. You can see the network interface resides in the subnet. It's part of the virtual network. It's assigned the public IP. It's secured by the security groups we allow, SSH and HTTP, and they're all contained in the resource group. So I'll go ahead and show you the project now. Alright, so here's the project, and this is the first version of this. I'll go ahead and show you the folder structure here. So you can see I'm in my folder, and we'll just list out the contents. What you can see in here is I have 8 images. I have a main.tf file and a provider.tf file. I intentionally left this one pretty bare bones, no variables, no tf vars, no outputs. I was even thinking about just putting the provider inside the main, but I did separate those out. So I'll go ahead and show you what is inside these files now before I go ahead and run it. So you can see right here, we're going ahead and creating a resource group, and we're naming it hard-coded CodaPix resource group. You can see we're also creating a virtual network, a subnet, a network security group, and we're allowing in SSH, which would be for any admin tasks, and HTTP just to be able to view the website once we've got the web server up and running. We're creating a public IP so we can access it, a network interface. Down here we're also creating a virtual machine, and you can see the size is specified. And also you could see the admin username and admin password. You could see it's hard-coded, the password. We're going to go ahead and, as we advance this project, make that not hard-coded. But for now I just left that hard-coded. We can see the connection type of SSH. We also see the password hard-coded here again. Some disk stuff. We also see the image that we're using for this. So this is Ubuntu. And here you can see the cloud init script. This is just us calling a script. It's in the folder. I'll show you it. I'm not going to go too in detail on what the script's doing, but I would just think of this as basically once the machine provisions, this script runs, and all these commands run on the system. So you could do that with any commands logically, like for example with PowerShell, say you wanted to start and stop a service, or just as a quick example. And then here, this is how we're going to upload the files to the VM. These are the pictures of Koda, because what we're doing is creating a website for Koda automatically using infrastructure as code. So you might be wondering what some of these things are, like what is resource Azure RM virtual network, and then what is VNet? VNet is the label that's Terraform specific. That's something Terraform would reference. Azure RM is a provider, and virtual network
is something under that provider. So I'll go ahead and show you in the web browser how you could find this if you wanted to find this. So we'll just look up Terraform providers list, and we can browse providers here. And for this example, we could do Azure RM. So this is good for any providers, and if you wanted to use it, you can actually see this block here. You could just copy and paste, which I'll go ahead and show you the provider block of our project here. You can see we have the required providers, Azure RM, the source, and the version, which look very specific to that website. And also you just have to reference it down here. That's just something this provider requires. So just as a little bit further of an example, we'll just go ahead and look at one thing just to show you how you could reference this if it was something you were interested in. We'll go to the documentation and we'll just search for virtual network. And we're just looking for that in here. There we go, Azure RM virtual network. And so you can see some example usages of this here. Just showing you how to use this provider. And you can see what they did exactly, Azure RM virtual network, the Terraform label, and then specifying what you want inside the network. There's arguments you could reference. So it's pretty useful. So that's how you could go ahead if you wanted to start this from scratch and you're wondering, well, how do I create a subset using the Azure provider? You would have to go to the documentation here, and that's how you can reference it.
Okay, so now that I explained what's in the main.tf file and the provider.tf file, I'll show you the script that's going to run, and this script is just being ran from here in the main.tf file. I'm not really going to go into the details of the script. I don't think it's really completely relevant, but you could see all of this is going to run in a terminal. And this is going to create the website for Koda. So let's go ahead and just show you the process of deploying this, and then once it's deployed, we can show you the results. So the first thing we need to do, and I should note, I already logged in with Azure login and PowerShell before showing you this portion of the video. So we can see our project structure above. We'll go ahead and do Terraform init. This will just initialize the providers. And we can even see it right here saying finding HashiCorp, Azure RM, the versions we specified, creating a lock file. And now what you can also notice is there's two new files here, .terraform and .terraform.lock. In the .terraform, this will show us the provider information. I'll go ahead and just show you that. I think it's probably just easier to show you that here. So we can see the Azure RM provider being put into here, the version number we specified, and all that. So that's pretty cool. So next we'll go ahead and just run Terraform plan. What this will do is this will just show us what Terraform would create if we were to run Terraform apply, which is actually what we're going to do right after running this. So we're running Terraform plan, and we'll just give this a second to run, and this will show us what would happen. So we can see tons of things happening here, and I'm not going to really go through every one, but we can see the resource, showing the virtual machine, the label, you can see the computer name, and known after applying, a lot of things like that. Once we apply, a Terraform state file will be created where Terraform will be aware of all the resources we've created. So I'll just go ahead and run Terraform apply. And I guess just while this is running, I might pause the video, but so what this is going to do is this is going to create all these resources inside Azure as if you were to manually do it. If you were to manually go into like portal.azure.com, navigate to virtual machines, create the virtual machine, select the version, create the security groups, open those up, create a virtual network, place it in the virtual network, create a subnet, which is actually will be in the subnet,
So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that this is doing all with just running Terraform.
So I'll type in yes here, and I'll go ahead and pause now while this creates, and probably give it a couple minutes after it's done creating, because
All these stuff in this script is going to need to run as well. The virtual machine will be in a running state when that happens. And yeah, I'll see you back here in a minute. Alright, so probably about 5 minutes or so have passed since I ran Terraform apply and everything is completed. It actually completed a lot quicker than this. I'll just scroll up and show you where I ran it. So you can see here, this is me running it.
it's telling us.
All the things that are going to be created. I believe down here is where I typed yes, saying I approved that. Yep. Yes, and we can see it starting to create things. You can see it creating the resource group, the security group, the files, the virtual machine. So now all that should be in Azure and it should be created. And I'll show you one more thing. Um, so when we run this, Terraform actually keeps a state file. You can see that right here, and that shows you all the current resources that Terraform's aware of. So we'll just go ahead and open that up and show you. It's pretty cool. And you can see all this information. So I intentionally didn't put an output file here, which would be like Terraform's way of, once this is done running, outputting some of the values. Like the VM name is this, the public IP is this. We'll see if we can find the public IP in here, and it looks like we can. So this is the public IP. Since we have the web server running, we really should be able to just navigate to this and actually see what we set up. I'll go ahead and open Azure's portal, and we'll just check if the resource group's there. We'll see everything we can find in there. So we'll go ahead, go to the top, and we'll just search for resource groups. And we can see here, Koda picks RG, and I'll go ahead and show you in here the resource group portion, which I believe is actually at the top. But we can see Azure RM resource group, RG, name, Koda picks RG, the location, Central US. So that's just kind of an example of showing something logical, infrastructure as code, turning into something in the real world. Inside here, we can see the VM, the VNet, and everything we set up. If we go to this VM, we will see that public IP, which was also present in our Terraform state file. And what's pretty cool is just off running this, if we go to this URL, we should be able to see the website, assuming it's not still setting up. So I'll go ahead, it looks like it is. I'll go ahead and pause and give it a couple more minutes and come back and show you this portion. Alright, so it's been a few more minutes since where I just left off, and it turns out I just needed to be a little bit more patient, allowing the script to run on the Azure virtual machine. So I'll go ahead and just navigate back to this public IP address, and you can go ahead and see now we have a website. It's pretty bare bones, but taking a venture with Koda, join Koda as he tells his story through his favorite moments. And let me just go a little out. And then you can see Koda's story here, which I kind of just made for fun. But yeah, so all this was provisioned using Terraform. And this is the first example of this project. What I'm going to do in the next portion is try to improve this project. And the first improvements, there's going to be various videos of me improving this. So the next improvements are going to be creating an outputs file, which will be when we run Terraform, showing us some outputs, things that are useful, like the public IP is a good example, like I mentioned. Also, I'm going to be adding in variables. And this would just make it a little bit more reusable. I guess an example of this would be, you see Koda picks here a lot. So instead of using this, I can add a variable to make it where you could change all of these at once. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to also do like a tfvars file, which will just overwrite the default variables. So yeah, this is the first iteration of this project. And thank you for watching.